So the question is that the bills stand as printed. Bills be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Those against say no. I believe the ayes have it. And the question is that the bills be reported. Those of that opinion say aye. Those against say no. I believe the ayes have it.
The committee has considered the Coronavirus Economic Response Package Omnibus Bill 2020 and 7 related bills and has agreed to them with an amendment to the Coronavirus Economic Response Package Omnibus Bill 2020. Minister.
I move that the report of the committee be adopted.
Question is the motion moved by Senator Cormann be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. The contrary no. The ayes have it. Senator Cormann.
I move that the bill be now read a third time.
Question is the bills be read a third time. Those of that opinion say aye. The contrary no. The ayes have it. The clerk.
Coronavirus Economic Response Package Omnibus Bill 2020, Guarantee of Lending to Small and Medium Enterprises Coronavirus Economic Response Package Bill 2020, Australian Business Growth Fund Coronavirus Economic Response Package Bill 2020, Assistance for Severely Affected Regions Special Appropriation Coronavirus Economic Response Package Bill 2020, Structured Finance Support Coronavirus Economic Response Package Bill 2020, Appropriation Coronavirus Economic Response Package Bill No. 1 2019-2020, Appropriation Bill Coronavirus Economic Response Package Bill No. 2 2019-2020, Boosting Cash Flow for Employers Coronavirus Economic Response Package Bill 2020. We have some supply bills.
Thank you. I have received messages from the House of Representatives forwarding the following bills for concurrence. Supply Bill No. 1 2020-2021, Supply Bill No. 2 2020-21, and Supply Parliamentary Departments Bill No. 1 2020-2021. Senator Cormann.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move that these bills may proceed without formalities and be taken together and be now read a first time.
Question is that motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. The contrary no. The ayes have it. The clerk.
Supply Bill No. 1 2020-2021, Supply Bill No. 2 2020-2021, Supply Bill Parliamentary Departments Bill No. 1 2020-2021.
I call the Minister first, then I'll come to you, Senator Gallagher.
I move that these bills be now read a second time, and I seek leave to have the second reading speeches incorporated in Hansard.
Is leave granted? Leave is granted. Senator Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. President. Labor will support the supply bills that have been introduced in the Parliament as part of the COVID-19 response. These bills will broadly provide for 7 months of funding in the 2021 financial year to allow for the continued operation of government, including the Parliament. Our support will ensure essential functions of government are able to operate through this period of uncertainty. There are some exceptions to the 7-month rule, which include full-year funding for the National Disability Insurance Agency, full-year department funding for Services Australia, the ATO and the Department of Health to ensure service delivery is maintained, and full-year appropriations for the Coronavirus Economic and Health Response measures. Supply Bill 1 will appropriate $76.4 billion, Supply Bill 2 would appropriate $6.7 billion, and the Parliamentary Department Supply Bill will appropriate $150.5 million. Like all supply and appropriation bills, these bills contain advance to the Finance Minister provisions. The advance to the Finance Minister allows the Finance Minister to authorise an amount of expenditure without the usual appropriation mechanisms for urgent and unforeseen circumstances or where there's been an error in an appropriation bill. These provisions are usually for a reasonable but modest amount. For example, in the 2019-20 appropriation bills passed in this place last year, Bill 1 had a provision of $295 million and Bill 2 had $380 million for a total of $675 million. The supply bills that are before us right now are proposing an advance to the Finance Minister provision that totals $40 billion. This is an unprecedented amount. However, given the unprecedented nature of the times we are in, we deem the provisions to be appropriate. After all, just over a week after the announcement of a $17.6 billion stimulus package, we nearly had a quadrupling of the amount with a $66 billion package that followed. We are aware of discussions around a third economic response package being considered, and I don't think anyone's in a position to understand how large that might require to be. how large that package might need to be. That's why we considered this larger provision to be appropriate. But Labor's support for this has been conditional, and as part of our agreement to these bills and the advance to the Finance Minister provisions contained in them, we have sought and received this agreement of the government for a number of transparency and oversight provisions which we deem to be quite reasonable for the situation we find ourselves in. After negotiations with the Minister for Finance, through him to the government, which I acknowledge and appreciate the spirit and engagement on this, the government will issue a media release after every use of the advance to the Finance Minister, I think on the Friday of the week that the advance was used, and seek approval from the opposition or concurrence from the opposition for a proposed use of the advance to the Finance Minister of any sum greater than $1 billion. Labor believes these transparency and oversight provisions related to the advance to the Finance Minister will enhance scrutiny of this facility, which is appropriate given the large amount of funding that we're talking about. So as I indicated, Labor will support these bills. It's important that we have the level of certainty that essential operations of government can continue while the COVID-19 situation is dealt with.
I'll go to Senator McKim, then I'll come to you, Senator Cormann. Senator McKim.
Thank you, President. I won't hold up the chamber unnecessarily. If I could just place on the record that as the Leader of the Greens, Adam Bant, has said regularly, and we have said in this chamber today, we will take a constructive role in the response to what many members have described as an unprecedented situation, and we will be supporting this legislation so that the machinery of government can continue in the event that, that as is in fact has happened, the budget has been postponed, and in the event that this parliament is not able to resume under its previously agreed sitting arrangements. So we'll be supporting these bills.
Senator Cormann.
Thank you very much. I probably should quit while I'm ahead, but when I've got such a consensus across the chamber, which is quite unique. But let me just place on record my great appreciation, in particular, for the way Senator Gallagher, as the Shadow Minister for Finance, has worked with me through these issues. I mean, we are living in unbelievable times. I don't think that any of us would have expected to be dealing with legislation of this nature and with an advance to the Finance Minister of this size. I mean, these bills are necessary to ensure the proper functioning of government services and the continuation of vital programs in an environment of global economic uncertainty resulting from the coronavirus pandemic. This economic uncertainty impacts the forecasts on which the federal budget depends. Consequently, we have decided to reschedule this year's federal budget to 6 October 2020, which will ensure that the 2020-21 budget can set out the path to economic recovery. However, this delay to the budget does mean that we won't be able to pass appropriation bills for 2020-21 before the end of the financial year. And of course, as a number of senators have observed, there is a high degree of uncertainty as to the timing as to when we will next be able to meet, which is why we have discussed with the opposition, and we appreciate the support of the entire chamber, including Senator McKim, for the proposal to increase the advance to the Finance Minister to $40 billion. This is designed to give us the fiscal capacity to respond to urgent and currently unforeseen requirements in a circumstance where there is uncertainty about when the Parliament is next able to meet. It ensures we have sufficient appropriations available to meet unforeseen costs, which may include responding to the need for additional, more costly medical equipment and supplies, given the high international demand and the upward pressure on prices. It also gives us the capacity to provide further support to our economy and to Australians, even as required, and to support the ongoing operations of our government, but also to, if required, make additional payments to state and territory governments to support, for example, their provision of healthcare services to Australians. In light of the significant increase in the advance to the Finance Minister, the government has agreed to the additional transparency measures that Senator Gallagher mentioned. I will issue a media release each Friday where one or more determinations have been made in that week to allocate funding from that advance. And I will also write to the Shadow Finance Minister to seek her concurrence on behalf of the opposition prior to drawing any funding from an advance to the Finance Minister for any given proposed expenditure greater than $1 billion. So with those few words, I commend these bills to the Senate.
Question is the bills be read a second time. Those of that opinion say aye. The contrary, no. The ayes have it.